produce content using these AI tools. But we're at a particular time right now where AI is deleting jobs, right? So you hear a lot of people say AI is going to take my job or AI has took my job. And IBM is laying off, Google is laying off. A lot of these major corporations are laying off, right? The layoff for the month of March is up 9%. You know what I'm saying? There was 90,000 some people laid off in America, right? So you have people saying AI is going to take my job. AI is going to take my job. But I'm here to tell you today, AI is not going to take your job. The people that are learning AI is going to take your job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I invite you all to spend 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, allocate some time to get acquainted with what's happening in the world of AI. You know what I'm saying? There are threats, but there are also opportunities. You know what I'm saying? Become a unicorn. What is a unicorn, Dr. Ric Mathis? A unicorn is $1 billion business that gets an evaluation in the course of 1 year that hasn't gone public. That's happening right now as a result of these AI tools, as a result of these AI platforms. Because my biggest fear, and it won't be me because I'm learning AI and I'm pivoting with it. I'm becoming what's called AI adjacent. What is AI adjacent? AI adjacent is using these AI tools to enhance your skill set because AI is disrupting all of these industries. You know what I'm saying? So it won't be me. You know what I'm saying? But if you look at when white folks say, we want to put Black people back in slavery, if you look at what's going on with AI, all the jobs are being deleted, right? If you got to feed your kids, you got to feed your babies, you don't have a job, you don't have a means to make money, then what are you going to do? You're going to resort to crime. Amendment 13 says what? Slavery is abolished except
if you've been convicted of a crime. Now let's talk about that. We can get to the AI part. I
yeah.
want you to share that link. I know you have an AI curriculum. I want to talk. Let's talk about just the thinking behind the layout of the film in terms of how the timing and laying out the different people that were in it. I really enjoyed. I want everybody to know that that Rick and his crew put it. They did everything. I helped arrange. I did some producing in terms of getting people together at the All Black National Convention, and we did a lot of the takes there. And I was super proud of just all the contributors. I really liked how I think that one part I really enjoyed was Keisha and Jedediah and the way you lace the film with that, just because Black love is so important, right? Black love is the reason we exist, is the reason we get to procreate. And I remember the first time I met Keisha actually did a one-on-one consultation with me, and at that time she was starting a brand called I Am Enough, and my daughter has an I Am Enough t-shirt. And she said that she was overcoming the setback of, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think she said she was all practically left at the altar. She was engaged, and and it didn't work out. And so we strategized, right? We sat and we talked for an hour about her plan. And then I remember at some point I was kind of like, well, if you want to meet a solid man, I think you should come to the convention. Any man who follows me knows I'm not about any BS. I believe deeply in respecting Black women and family and all that stuff. And so she came to the convention. She meets Jedediah at the convention. I heard about it. I was real excited to hear about it. Tell me, what was your thought as far as how you shape that love story? And it seemed like you put it in different parts of the film, and you started off with it, finished with it. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, at the end of the day, so in filmmaking, you have to show versus tell because you're dealing with visual pictures, right? So the question was asked, what is it going to take for Black people to get on code and put Black people first? If I had to take a poll, I would say about 70 or 80% of the people said love, right? So you can't just say it's going to take love. It's going to take love. You have to show it. So my thinking as a producer, as a director, how do we show this in the film? Well, A love story is the most eloquent and most quintessential way to show that, right? So you have this amazing love story that takes place with the backdrop of the All Black National Convention, right? And so I wanted to kind of sprinkle that throughout the film, but then end the film with saying, this is what it's about. As you notice at the end of the film, it said the meeting, it said the proposal, it said
Mm,
the wedding, and then it said the baby.
mm,
That's the family, right? At the end of the day, Black people, it takes love and it takes Black family
mm.
for us to get on code and for us to put Black people first. That's what it's going to take.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I was really inspired by that because, we know that we need the generations. And I loved how you helped us remember how many thousands of people, how many thousands of ancestors all mixed their DNA together to create each of us. And I think that that really links to our specialness as Black people. I mean, I felt, I don't know about y'all, but I felt real special when they were like, it takes 128 great grandparents and blah blah blah, 256 great grand. When y'all kept doing that, I thought that was just a brilliant way to explain it. And then Professor James Small comes in and kind of nails it home to really help us understand it and really tap into that. Did you feel when you were making this film, uh, you were making it right after or right during your mother passed on during that time?
Mhm.
How were you feeling as you were making this film? I mean, I know that's got to be emotional for you. Did that affect the way you were seeing the film and the images that were projected on screen?
Yeah, of course. I mean, my mother made her transition January 21st, 2022. That
Mm,
was like right in the middle of production, right? We had just
mm,
finished, everything at the All Black National Convention, collected footage. And so this film was a blessing because if I didn't have this film to pour my energy into, I don't know what I would have done. You know what
mm,
I'm saying? So my mom was over my left shoulder. She
mm,
was there pouring into me. You know what I'm saying? Pouring into me. So this film it has a special place in my heart. And I know it's going to touch the world and I know it's going to reach masses. But this film it has to do with timing. You know what I'm saying? We're coming up on a very interesting time, with the presidential election and all of that coming up. So this film is going to be right in the center, right in the midst of all of that because Black people need to feel good about themselves. You know what I'm saying? They need to be proud to be Black. I love Black people. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
I grew up in the blackest city in America, Atlanta. You know what I mean? So coming to Atlanta and experiencing a Black mayor, a Black fire chief, going to an all Black high school where we had one white guy and one Asian girl, where the Black principal would come on the intercom and say, this is a school where we operate in excellence. We do everything in excellence as Black people.
Mm,
And that school, Frederick Douglass High School, right here on the west side of Atlanta, has produced people like Killer Mike, T.I., you know what I'm saying? Keisha Lance Bottoms, the mayor here. So many people I can go on and on. Lil Jon, who just released a meditation album, who tricked everybody and thought he was a dummy and could barely speak. But he comes from an affluent family right here in Atlanta, Georgia, that owns a newspaper company. So you
mm,
know he wasn't illiterate. But that's the school that I come from, and that's what instilled in me to be proud of my Blackness, to love
mm.
my Blackness, to embrace my Blackness, and to put my Blackness up front and put it first. So with that being said, it's an amazing time, and I'm just thankful and humbled, that the people receive the film and that they appreciate it, because that's what the long hours and the hard work, that's what we look for after a film is produced.
Well, what I'll say to everybody, I see some of you in the chat were asking how can you watch the replay and stuff like that. We're gonna ask you when we're not gonna show this anymore. When Rick and I agreed to partner on the film, I said, hey, can I show it to the students in the Black Business School and do a digital screening? And he said yes. And then just so you know that there's a compromise there, right? Because this is the way he supports his business, things like that. So if you'd like to get a copy of the film, I'd like to ask you if you could support the film by going to be1themovie.com, be the number one themovie.com, right, Rick?
Yeah,
And also
b1themovie.com. Yes.
he has curricula there. He has all kinds of things there that you can do, that you can participate in to support the project. And he's still, he's a hustler. He does screenings, all around the world. And the benefit of going to the screening is not just the benefit of seeing the film, but it's the benefit of being in the community that is around the film. You understand? There's an energy around the film. There's an aura around the film. There's a mindset of the people that are going to want to see a film like this. And so, similar to how I remember mentioning to Keisha, and I say this to really any young lady, any young man that I meet that says, how do I meet somebody, or how do I meet a business partner? How do I make friends that think like this? I say, go to a space where there is some center of attention that reflects a certain vibrational frequency, right? Because Ayanna Van Zant talks about vibrational attraction. So when you go into spaces where people vibrate at a certain level, it's going to affect you. Like there was one part in the film that you mentioned, Rick, where we talked about that year. Were you there that year at the All Black National Convention when Infinity Song performed? That was the name of the group, Victory Boyd's Family, and they started singing, "I got mad love for you. I got
That's
mad
in
love
the
for you."
movie.
Yeah, and everybody went crazy. Like everybody, like the energy
Mhm.
was unbelievable. Like it was unlike anything anybody had ever seen. Everybody there was like, I've never been in a space like this before. It was like heavenly. Like everybody was so connected in that moment. And I still remember that. And by the way, as a side note, I don't know if y'all know this or not, but Infinity Song has blown up. They've been signed with Rock Nation for a while. Victory was already getting famous. Now the whole family's famous. They are literally on a European tour and selling out venues all throughout Europe. That's how big they've gotten because of what they represent. They're not even doing the raggedy music. They're doing soft rock, and everybody is so inspired by this family that's doing the new Jackson 5. They become the new Jackson 5. So anyway, I'm really excited. It inspires me, man, to see people that are in our little space really going out here and changing the world. Killer Mike was at the first convention. He just won 3 Grammys. D1 has been at several conventions. He's been changing hip hop. We talked about Infinity Song. So there's so much inspiration happening in that space. Tell me about just the way you reflected on that, and just the role that the convention and all that kind of ties into what we're doing as a movement.
Yeah, I mean, Marcus Garvey says we are a people that are cursed by petty differences, right?
Mm,
So I wanted to find that common denominator, the thing that would bring Black people together and would make Black people feel good about being Black. So that was one of the
mm,
goals. So this film, if you noticed in the film, I showed Black families smiling, Black families being happy, Black excellence, right? And when people talked about violence, when they talked about crime, I showed white people. And I did that on purpose because I wanted us to see ourselves in a light where we were loving, where we were happy. And I wanted this film to be very inspirational and motivational. You know what I'm
mm.
saying? So that was my thing. I was looking for that common denominator because oftentimes, again, as Marcus Garvey said, we are people that are cursed by petty differences. The petty differences is stop us from achieving certain heights and achieving certain goals. You know what I'm saying? So I really just wanted to make us feel good about each other and about ourselves.
Man, I'll tell you, you did a great job with that. And actually, by the way, anybody who wants to go to the convention, I highly recommend it. If you haven't been there before, it's amazing. If you've been to the convention, let everybody know in the chat what your experience is like, and just be honest. I guarantee it's unlike anything you've ever seen. And the next convention is going to be in Chicago, October 25th to the 27th. You can go to allblacknationalconvention.com. And in fact, this week, April 19th and 20th, we're holding a stock options summit in Los Angeles. You can go to stockoptionsummit.com if you'd like to be a part of that. And also, if you want to see this film or you want to get access to Ric's curriculum and everything else, I'm called I would call the curriculum. Get it, Rick?
Yeah, the
Curriculum.
curriculum.
We call it the curriculum. There we go. You get
Yeah.
access to the curriculum. Go to B1, be the number one, B1themovie.com. That's where you can see the film. And also Chanel's in the chat. And some of you have been asking to do consultations with me, meet me one-on-one, stuff like that. We have a couple of those slots open. So Chanel, if you could share that link, feel free to do that. And those of you that want to study stock options with us on a regular basis in the Prime program, you can go to drboyceprime.com. That's drboyceprime.com. So Rick, let me ask you about this. So what was it like, when you were working with different personalities and different kinds of people? I felt that I really felt that I think I was most inspired by some of the performances from people like I think Vicky Dilla did a great job. Riza Islam always brings it. Brother Nuri Muhammad is amazing. I don't know if y'all saw, he was just on Nick Cannon's show, Council Culture, which I thought was great for the culture. It's great for our people. Who inspired you? Who stood out? Queen Afua. I mean, you just have so many great people. Speech from Arrested Development. I love him so much. Who inspired you the most? Maybe your top 3 or 4.
Woo! That's a difficult question, Doc.
It's hard, right?
Woo! Yeah. I have I have more than 3 or 4. I'll say this, right? Producing this film was like going to college and getting a doctorate in history and in
Mm,
Black folk education
wow.
because everybody just had a special voice. Everybody had depth and information and knowledge that just it just really spoke to my spirit, man. It was just sitting there and interviewing them and then going back and watching this footage. There was so much that was learned, you know what I'm saying? From the law that they have in France, where they have a law where they play a certain percentage of their music. You know what I'm saying? From Dr. Claude Anderson just breaking down how slavery, the 9 countries that came over here, and they came, and the people that came here, they got an X amount of land based on the slaves that they had. Just all of that being broken down. And then, the information about the Constitution being a trust. I don't know how many people caught that, but the actual U.S. Constitution being a trust, like it was so much information that it was just mind blowing, man. And
Mm,
that's why I produced the film in episodes. So there's 5 episodes, ranging from about 10 minutes to about 18, 19 minutes, because per the TED Talk formula method, people's attention span is about 18 minutes. After 18 minutes, they need a break to kind of
mm.
read it. So I say that. So I produced the film in a way where it's 5 episodes and you can watch an episode at a time and have dialogue with your family, with your friends, and then watch the next episode, and go through the exercises in the curriculum. So, it's just it just came from a special place, man, and I'm really, humbled and grateful.
Yeah, yeah. There were so many favorite parts in the film, and I just love listening. I mean, I think I also have to say, in terms of my favorites, Dr. Claude Anderson. I mean, he's the goatiest of all the goats. King Randall. I like King Randall out of Georgia because he is an independent thinker, and he really actually he built that school, and he's educating those boys and really doing a great job down there. Mama Pill was great. Just and it was so much fun. It's so much fun to get together with people that you respect and admire, and us just doing our thing, not sitting around wondering if somebody's gonna let us do our thing, but knowing we have enough talent in our community to do anything that we want to do. So the same way Hollywood gets together with their directors and producers and writers and filmmakers and everything else and actors and actresses, whatever, we did the same thing. And we have all of that. We got the talent. And so with this project, I don't know which one of us. I remember that initial conversation you and I had about the project. I don't remember which one of us came, or how we came up with the idea to do B1 the movie. But I remember when you reached out to me about working together. First thing I thought about was your spirit in terms of how we've done business together. And I said, this he's always been, fair and square on the up and up. He's a good guy. Okay, yeah, sure, I'll work with you. I like to work with good people. And you talk about that vibrational attraction. It's just, um, I like to just be around people that are good to be around, right? And I think the convention captures that same type of energy too. That these are just people that you want to be friends or you want to build with. They would rather get along with you than to fight you. And I like the fact that you all did such a good job. I'd like for you to talk about this a little bit,
Mhm.
of highlighting the culture. You brought in another OG, another goaty goat, Dr. George C. Frazier. It was very powerful when he said that when the music changed, our people changed. And I thought you did a great job of highlighting that. Can you talk about the thought process behind that and kind of confronting hip hop? Because I swear, man, just today I
Mhm.
got a real long email from a brother who was well intended, and he said, "Doc, you're kind of hard on the thug culture, and I think that it's alienating a part of your audience." And he didn't know. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking, I don't care if you ever talking some nonsense about killing black people and all this other stuff, and everybody's going along with it because it's cool. I'm not signing up for that ever. I know right and wrong. I'm just not gonna do it. And I don't care about fitting in. So what did you think? How did you approach that? Because you're in Atlanta. I mean, they got all the rappers and everything, the trap music, all that. How did you deal with that balance?
So, so just to frame, your question. So in the film, Dr. George Frazier says, somebody asked me a question. What happened to black people? He said, I'm going to answer this question as precise and honest as I possibly can. And so he said, we changed when our music changed. When we start calling each other niggas, bitches, and hoes, we changed. So let's look at the timeline of music, right? So in the 60s, James Brown was singing Say It Loud. I'm black and I'm proud, right? Gladys Knight was singing about going on a midnight train to Georgia. In the 70s, we had, Marvin Gaye singing about let's get it on and, love and, you know what I'm saying? Make me want to holler, right? In the 80s, Michael Jackson was singing about, Thriller and dancing and having a good time. So that's what music was before the late 80s and the 90s. So in
Mm,
the late 80s, going into the 90s, we had a rapper out of South Florida by the name of Uncle Luke
mhm,
that came out with, Me So Horny and all of that made it okay for our women to take their clothes off in these music videos. We had a rapper by the name of Too Short from the Bay Area, California, that made it okay for us to call our women's bitches in the music.
mm,
This was the evolution of that. This was when music first started to change. And then what happened in the 90s, we had a group out of South Central LA called Niggas with Attitudes that
mm.
made it okay for us to call ourselves niggas in our music. So I want you to just think about that for a moment, how the music has changed from the early 90s going into 2000, 2010, 2015, and now we have what's called drill music. And then we have recently, I don't know if you saw this, Doc, but Sexy Red is on the cover of Rolling Stones magazine as the #1 artist in hip hop. So since when do we start letting white folks say who's #1 in our music? So it's something wrong with the music. It's something. There's a diabolical plan, a diabolical scheme to put these people first and on the forefront. It's just so frustrating when you see this because you're like, that type of music, that type of negativity can get so much press and so much publicity. But when you make a film like B1 about Black love and putting Black people first, you got to fight for every news article. You got to fight for every piece of publicity that you get. You know what I'm saying? So, it's an interesting timeline. And but I do feel like, we're at a time now where things are changing and Black people are waking up and starting to really love themselves and kind of see through the haze of what's going on. So, it's a perfect time, for this type of movie, for this type of film. So
Mm. Well, you make a great point on that, man. And one thing, and I'm gonna make a last statement on this, and I'm gonna let Rick get the last word. And before I do that, I want to remind everybody, if you didn't see it earlier, if you want to get a copy of the film or Rick's curriculum or access to any of the great things he's doing with AI, etc., just go to be1themovie.com, be the number one themovie.com, and it's all there. And I hope you will support this extraordinary filmmaker. He's a great partner. I look forward to our next project. And then second of all, I want to make sure I mention to you all, I didn't announce this before, but you guys have asked me to create a special mastermind for investing. And we've been talking about this for years. And so we decided to create something called the Wealth and Income Network, with WIN. So if you are interested in joining the mastermind, it does have a higher price point. So because it's meant to be a small group, but for those of you that want specialized investing interaction where we talk about what you're doing with your portfolio, stuff like that, Chanel has a waiting list. Chanel I believe she's in the chat. Chanel, just say something real quick so we can know you got the information. I know Chanel's always on it, and she could share the link for anybody that's interested in getting on the waiting list to join the mastermind. And in addition to that, if you want to just join the Prime program where we actually talk about generating income by selling stock options, you can go to drboyceprime.com. So feel free to go to drboyceprime.com, or you can also click on the link in the chat to get on the waiting list. Now, one thing I want to jump into, man, it just mentioned this, and I know that you got a busy schedule, so I'm going to let you go after you make your last statement on this, man. But I think it's interesting when you talk about the Sexy Reds or you talk about what happened to hip hop. And even when you talk about other minstrel shows that we see in the media, like anybody seen the advertisement for this new reboot of Good Times on Netflix? It's like it should be called Ghetto Times because it's a real ghetto. Have you seen it, Rick?
I haven't seen it.
Yeah, they're redoing Good Times as a cartoon on Netflix, right?
Okay.
And it's just real ratchet, real ghetto. Like they got like literally they have a crack slinging baby and just a lot of little interesting things, right? That's just like a lot of black folks saw it and said, I'm not
Right.
watching this stuff, right? And here's the part that I think that we don't get, right? We kind of, or maybe some of us get it. If you don't get it, I'm going to give you my perspective, and please consider this. We think that these shows are made for us. We think that these shows need our approval in order for them to exist and to be profitable. I don't believe that's the case. I don't believe that these shows are made for us. I don't believe that hip hop is really made for us. Hip hop is made by a small group of people in our community to represent us to the rest of the world. If you go to a Sexy Red concert and look in the audience, it's like a sea of white people. It really is. I mean, it doesn't mean black people don't get into it, but really a lot of this stuff is supported by people that are not black because they love to see black people in a certain light. They love to see us behaving like animals. It's no different from them watching Asian people do karate or seeing Italian people and saying they want to see a gangster movie. A lot of Italians used to be very offended by the fact that everybody thought that every Italian wanted to be in the mafia, right? Because mafia movies became very popular. So for us, because we have this reputation of being violent and ratchet and ignorant and backward and everything else, people just find that to be a great type of entertainment. And so we sometimes we end up thinking that because I talked to D1 about this a lot, and I said, you mentioned that you want to tell people to stop listening to certain kinds of music. I said, I don't know if that's going to make a difference because the people that are really consuming this stuff, they don't look like us and they're not listening to people like us. right? So really the battle is with the record labels, because we know that these stereotypes are very damaging to our kids, very damaging in terms of what our kids grow up thinking is a model of success. We got millions of little girls that really think that being a rapping stripper is a pathway to greatness. Like that's a real thing. So what do you think about some of what I just said there? And feel free to take it in any direction that you want in terms of your thought process as you were making this film and what you're fighting against and how to kind of deal with such a beastly problem, which really does come down to economics, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's all economics. If you notice in the film, China banned showing off wealth on social media.
Hmm.
That's a real thing. And so one of the scenes from the film says, if you want to attack a nation and bring a nation down, then why not trick them with social media by saying, I can do mindless bullshit,
Yeah. Yeah.
social media, and make money and get attention and feel like it's the right thing and be tricked into believing that this is the cool thing to do, this is the right thing to do, this is what time it is. Meanwhile, you got China, you got India, you even have Africa now studying their butts off and get ahead of the pack.
Mm.
So we're going to look up 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, and these young people are going to really be in a mess.
Mm. Yeah.
Oh, so I really feel sorry for them because the what's coming down the pipeline is not good. Like what's coming down the pipe is very, very how can I say it? It's gonna be very dramatic, what's coming down the pipe because they're gonna be in for a rude awakening. They're gonna be in for a rude awakening when they find out, wow, I should have been studying. I should have been looking at the trends, studying the stock market, studying where the dollar is going or where money is going, real money I'm talking about. And really, being studious to that versus doing all of this mindless BS on social media.
Yeah,
So
when you talk about that, it makes me think about 30 years ago when Joe Biden and his crew were trying to exterminate black people with the war on drugs and mass incarceration. And it really this is the danger I believe that happens when you don't control your culture, when you
mhm,
don't have the first say in what happens in your community. So if you back up to say the 1960s and around let's say the 1960s, right? So Vietnam War happens, they're killing black men left and right. I think Secretary McNamara had something called Project 100,000, where he wanted to send 100,000 black males to die in Vietnam, basically to go into infantry because white people stopped volunteering for the war. They didn't want to go over there anymore. So we would go. They went into black families and they lied to them and said, we're going to give your son a great job and all these opportunities. Well, really, they were going to just throw him in infantry because black lives did not matter to them. And so what happens? Well, then you have a lot of men that either don't come back at all, or they come back disabled, or they come back on drugs. My father was on heroin when he came back, and his older brother, I think, he had a lot. I know he had a lot of issues from the PTSD and the drugs and all that stuff. So then you go into now, mind you, at the same time, Hollywood is promoting the pimp culture at that time in the 1970s, black exploitation films and all that. And my father talks to me about how in the 1970s, he said all the young black men wanted to be like Goldie the pimp. They all would watch the Mac and all these other movies, yo, it chose me, right? And stuff like that, right? And they wanted, that was who they admired, right? So then you move forward, and then at that point, you have Reaganomics, black communities torn apart, jobs are gone, opportunities are gone, industrial centers destroyed, and you replace it with crack, 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 crack. Why? Well, because we have this war down in Central America that needs to be funded, so they're dumping crack in the black community. So all these things are happening at the same time. So then you got the horror of the 1980s, just all kinds of trauma, broken families, this drug that comes out of nowhere that's destroying families left and right, on top of the problems that you already face. This is after Jim Crow and everything else. So then the 90s comes, right? So this is why I don't believe these white folks are our friends. I'm sorry if you get
nah,
mad at me. I'm sorry, y'all. I got to be honest. They're not our friends because here's what they'll do. They will, I'm talking about the evil ones now. They'll go and create a problem
Mhm.
and then volunteer themselves to solve the damn problem. That's what they do. They'll put roaches in your house and then show up with an exterminator jacket on and say, I'm here to help you people clean the roaches out of here. Well, you put the roaches in the damn house.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so they show up and Biden is giving all these speeches. Pay attention now, about all the children of the people who were hit by the 1970s and 80s combination of drugs, black exploitation films, Vietnam, PTSD, all that, right? So these children are lost, right? Because their families are broken, they out in the streets, they struggling. So he's literally giving extermination, Adolf Hitler level extermination speeches. Basically, go listen to him. Go listen to this man. He was literally saying they need to be eliminated from society. These people, they come from the inner cities, they have single mothers, right? You know who they're talking about. And then so he goes and puts 100,000 cops on the street, puts $10 billion into building prisons. So you got a prison, now you got the prison industrial complex. And then that's when the hip hop turns, just coincidentally, to start to mass market criminal behavior to give them the opportunity to just literally wipe away another generation, right? They're wiping away. They messed up the fathers. Now they wiping away the sons, and now you've got what you have today. I mean, I think it's important for us to understand that sequence so that we can understand what we're up against and what they're doing. So here's my point. Here's where I'm getting at.
Mhm.
You got to control the culture in your community. You got to control that. You got to realize you ain't really got no friends. I don't trust nobody. I just don't. If we can't do it ourselves, then I don't want to do it. Really. So really, if you're talking about what we're dealing with, this is a multi-generational issue because even when you go listen to Snoop, who was one of the first people to promote, you remember Snoop's most famous line was, "We don't love them hoes," right?
Mhm.
And what did Snoop do? What did Snoop do when he would go on tour? He would actually bring with him a pimp, Bishop Magic Don Juan. And that term, like, we don't love them hoes. And they were imitating the black exploitation lines from 1970s films. So the son learned disrespect of women from the fathers, right? So my dad's generation influences Snoop's generation. I'm part of Snoop's generation. And then you look at what's happening with men right now, and it's just it's a complete tragedy, really. Right. So we have to really rediscover ourselves, basically, Rick. I mean, I really think, we really forgot who we are. We
Mhm.
let racist Hollywood tell us who we are. We let all these things infiltrate us. And we became dependent on people. See, the reason they were able to destroy your economy is because you didn't have your own economy. If you have your
Mm.
own economy, it's harder for them to destroy your own economy. If you do your own education, it's harder for them to miseducate you. If you have your own media, it's harder for them to poison the media about you. You have to do this. So black ownership, Rick, I think that's the key to everything. What are your thoughts?
So here's my thing. I heard Mark Cuban say the other day, we are in the age of the creative. Right now, with the tools that we have, the access that we have, the most creative people are going to win, right?
Mm.
So what I challenge each of you to do tonight that's watching this, right? Because we got to be creative and we got to build our own platform, but we also have to study the trends and know where things are going, right? So there's something called MAD, generative AI landscape, right? MAD is an acronym. MAD stands for machine learning, artificial intelligence, data. Because right now, data is the new oil. All of our data is the new oil, right? So there's 1,416 companies leading the pack on this AI landscape called MAD. This AI landscape, which is broken down in different compartments and sections, and it shows the different companies and what they're now doing in AI. So I challenge you to Google it. MAD AI landscape. Y'all Google that, learn about that, learn what that is. I also want you all to write these names down. These are kind of three forerunners of this whole AI revolution because the thing that I don't want or that I fear the most is for Black people to be afraid of AI and they look up 5, 10, 20 years and they're like, wow, what are we going to do? You know what I'm saying? Because now the machines are doing everything. There's a restaurant right now in California that's totally AI. You walk in the restaurant, there isn't a soul in there. They cook your food, they take your order, they give you your food, you go out the door. It's a
Mm.
burger joint right now in California. So therefore, I want you to write these three names down. Geoffrey Hinton. Geoffrey is Georffery. He's considered the father of AI. This guy went to school for AI back in the 70s. Back in the 70s in London. Look it up, right? I want you to write his name down. I want you to write down Kai-Fu Lee, who's an Asian guy who's considered the oracle of AI, right? And then I want you to take a deeper look into what is it called? Chat GPT.
The open AI.
Open AI, the parent company, right? And I want you to look at Sam Altman. Sam Altman is the CEO of OpenAI.
Mm-hmm.
This guy's worth over $2 billion as the CEO of a company, right? Because you have to study where they're going and what's happening, because right now they have the goal and they're making the rules. They're saying how the game is going to be played and where it's going to be played. What kind of ball we're going to play, the field we're going to play on. Are we playing on a basketball court? You know what I'm saying? So I want you all to look at these things, because at the end of the day, we need concrete marching orders and we need practical things that we can do. And then I want you to promise yourself that you're going to allocate at least 10 to 20 minutes a day looking at these AI tools and these AI platforms. You know what I'm saying? Because data is the new oil.
Mm-hmm.
Data
Yes,
is
it
the
is.
new oil. Microsoft and OpenAI is partnering to build an $800 billion computer called Stargate. An $800 billion computer. This thing is insane. So they're planning for the future. And like George Frazier say, Black folks planning for Saturday night.
Mm-hmm.
Time out for that. Study these people. Know what they're doing. Know the direction that all of this stuff is going, so we can build our own AI economy, our own Black metaverse, and our own stuff. Because we know at the end of the day, like Nur Muhammad said in the film, if they let us in the game, what we do? We take over.
I love it.
So we need to study this so we can take over. It's our time, Black people. I love you. Love yourself and put yourself first by doing this for you, your children, your kids' kids, and your kids' kids.
All right. All right. So there we go. Love is a great way to finish the conversation. And yeah, AI is interesting. There's a lot happening there, and I encourage everybody to dig into that. In fact, I do. I spend a lot of time in the metaverse on my MetaQuest headset. I play golf every morning in the metaverse, and it's really fun. It's I really love it. And so anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's special event. You guys, we showed it to you because you are special, and we appreciate you joining us tonight. It's an honor always to spend time with you. And as you all know, I'm with you every single day. Every morning, we do financial consciousness training at 10 a.m. If you do not get an invitation to financial consciousness training, just text the word morning to 87948. Text morning to 87948. Also, to get a copy of this film, to see the film again, or to see Ric's curriculum or what they're doing in AI, go to b1themovie.com. That's B, the number one, b1themovie.com. You can go there. And also a couple more quick announcements. Number one, if you want to get on the waiting list for the new Dr. Boyce Investing Mastermind, Chanel has a link, and Amani. I think our whole support team's in there. Chanel, Amani, Micah, the whole crew's in there. As you all know, customer service is our top priority. So they are in there. They can share the link with you to get on the waiting list. If you want to join our Prime program, and where we generate income by selling stock options, just go to drboyceprime.com. And also Chanel has a link for those of you that have been asking for a consultation or a small group session, stuff like that. She can share all that with you. We'll leave this link open when we get done so that you all can kind of talk, and Chanel and the customer support team will be right there to talk to you and make sure you get anything that was missed, as well as ways to connect with Rick and his team. This ain't the last time. Rick, I say we come back and do a part two or something. But we gotta do something. This has been so much fun.
Yeah, definitely. Let me know, man. This was definitely excited, definitely fun, man. And I thank you all for the love. I love you all. And I'm thankful and, I'm humbled, man. More exciting things to come, man. We're working on some exciting things in the world of AI and in the world of media. So
Yes.
definitely happy about that, man. So stay tuned. Follow me at Ric Mathis,
Yes.
RICMATHIS at
Oh
RIC.
yeah. Yeah, everybody go follow Rick on social media. Rick RIC. Don't forget that RICMATHIS. It's right there on the screen. You can follow him. You can follow up with him. Send him a note if you if you want to partner with him or something like that. You got something going on. He's a great guy. He's good at what he does, and I have a lot of respect for you, man. So I want to say thank you very much
Thank you.
for hanging out with us, and thank you all very much. So I hope you all will have a great night, and I will see you all actually probably in the morning, actually at 10 a.m. We're doing our consciousness training. Also, the Stock Options Summit is on the 19th in Los Angeles. That's stockoptionssummit.com. So maybe Chanel, if you and the team have that link, maybe you can share it in the chat for anybody that wants to join us in LA on the 19th. All right, so have a good day, everybody. Good night. I'm gonna leave this open so that any conversations can finish, and I'm gonna shut it down in a couple minutes after. Thanks a lot, Rick. Good to see you,
Yeah,
brother.
thank you, man. Thank
All
you.
right. God bless you, everybody. Take care.